Welcome. In this video, we're going to do another trig proof. Let me remind us of the rules in case we might have skipped one of the previous videos. Here is some of the logic that we use for proving identities. Remember, you only work on one side. Start on the left or the right and stay on that side. It is possible to manipulate on each side, but we want to make sure that we are never crossing our invisible wall. Right? So never move terms from one side of the equation to the other. That's something we do when we're solving, and we're not solving here, we are proving. Our hints would be to work on the more complex side first. Clearly, I think the left is harder to deal with. Try to turn things or complete algebraic operations, manipulations, factor, multiply, subtract, multiply by 1, convert everything into sine or cosine. All right. So let's get started with this problem, and I'm going to work on the left side. I'm actually going to do one step on the right side. I'm going to turn everything into sine or cosine. And because these are big, ugly rational expressions, I'm going to leave myself some space. So I have sine x plus cosine x over secant is reciprocal to cosine x plus cosecant is reciprocal to sine x. And then on the right, I have sine of x over 1 over cosine x. So 1 over cosine x is all in the denominator. All right, so obviously, I want to try and complete some algebraic operations. And I know I can add fractions if I'm dealing with a common denominator. So I'm going to try and get a common denominator, and I'm going to multiply cosine x by sine x over sine x. And on the other side, I'm going to multiply by cosine x over cosine x. So I'm allowed to put a times 1 in here. What does this give me? This leaves me with my sine x plus cosine x in the numerator. And my denominator, I'm going to have sine over sine times cosine plus cosine over sine times cosine. So I'm going to go ahead and add those two numerators together. I have sine x plus cosine x over sine x times cosine x. So by adding those fractions, this is the expression I have in my denominator. So dealing with fractions and having a fraction inside the fraction, one thing we remember when we're dividing by a fraction, division is the same as multiplication by the reciprocal. So this is the same as sine x plus cosine x, my numerator, times the reciprocal of my denominator, which is sine x times cosine x over sine x plus cosine x. So all of this denominator, I flipped it, multiply by the reciprocal. Now you should see that sine plus cosine divided by sine plus cosine is cancel, and I have sine x times cosine x. All right, so I've done some fair manipulation to simplify this. Let's pull down what I have up here. So up here I have sine over 1 divided by cosine x. Remember, division is multiplication by the reciprocal, so this is sine x times cosine x over 1. That's the same as sine x times cosine x. So you can see with fair, decent manipulation, I was able to turn them into each other. Now, I worked on both sides of the problem in this situation. Did I move terms? And the answer is no. So I never moved anything from one side to the other. All right, I hope that helps. Hang tight for another example coming up soon.